What's up, y'all? It is Tasha. I am back with another video. Thank you so much for stopping into my channel. Like, comment, subscribe. I give you a beat to go ahead and get at least, one of the three of those done real quick. All right, let's go. Let's jump into this review of Put a Ring on It, Season 3, Episode 9. I apologize for the sports bra of it all. I just got done working out and it's either now or never, okay? So this episode picks up where we left off with Kenneth and Shorty, and Kenneth is like, by all means, Shorty, if she don't see the F I'm putting in, she can go head on. I ain't got no problem with that. Okay, Kenneth. Dr. Nicole asks Shorty, what she hears him saying, and she says that she hears him saying that she does not give him any credit for what he does, and she's like, that's not what I'm saying. Basically, Shorty is saying, whatever she says may be a 10, and then Kenneth takes that to a 20, in my opinion, of kind of hearing what she says, but taking it to the next level, and it's like, but she didn't really say all that in that moment that we heard, okay? Dr. Nicole says they really have to ask each other if they are good enough in their present state. So really not thinking about the potential of someone, maybe what all the promises of what they said, but what they are showing you right now. And basically, in my opinion, what they've showed you for the past 3 years, is that good enough? And the answer for all these couples are no, but we gonna keep going, okay? So we know this week they can't have any new dates. They can only either not go on a date, I believe, or go out with someone they've already gone out with. So we start with Fonzo, and Fonzo wants to go on a second date with Tanisha. So little mini Shay, who we saw the last time. Shay says, ooh, he must have liked her because he don't remember nobody's name, but he remember her name. Shay says she wants to go on a second date with Asar. So, of course, we remember that was the guy who, when she went ballistic on the date with Fonzo, the double date, that was her date. So she didn't really have a date with him at that time. Charlana says she's going to go on a second date with Chris. So, little Odell Beckham III. And I'm just like, him of all people, Charlie, and especially when you just said you didn't want to go on a second date with him because he might kind of be disrespectful, but then you choose to go on a second date with him? Okay, Kenneth picks Myaja, who was Shorty's old intern that he went out before. And of course, Shorty picks Tavy because she doesn't have a catalog of dates because she's gone on quite a few dates with Tavy. So we see Kenneth, when she says that, he starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but he kept his composure in the group therapy that, I'm going to play it cool as much as I can. So back at Shorty and Kenneth's place, they're talking about group session, and Kenneth says it's time for him to put his foot down. Like, I got to establish some respect around here, put some respect on my name, okay? That's what he is saying. She tells him that everything she says upset and triggers him, and he's like, you need to watch how you talking to me, and you need to watch your tone. Now, while I agree that some of the things that Shorty says to him can cut a little bit deep, but sir, you can't in the moment say you need to watch how you talk to me and watch your tone while you are in the moment not watching how you talk to me and not watching your tone. Like, you can't ask me for the things that in the moment you aren't even giving me. Like, how does that work? Like, you asking me for respect, but then you being disrespectful in the moment that you asking me for the respect? Nah, Kenneth. She asks if he thinks that he's been coming back to her to discuss conversations that they've decided that they put on hold. And she says yes, and she disagrees. And to me, it sounds like Kenneth, basically when they have issues, Kenneth just wants to kind of brush past the issue. So if it's like, oh yeah, we had that agreement, we said we'll revisit, let's just leave it in the past and forget about it and start back over, rather than truly addressing the issue so the issue doesn't continue to pop up. You gotta fix it. If you want the car to stop making noise, you gotta fix it. You just can't turn the radio up. Like, Kenneth, make it make sense. He asks what he can do overall, and she says to stop lying, be consistent, be real with your apologies, because these fake ones you giving me is just wanting me to shut up. Like you just can't keep doing the same behavior. She really wants him to stop misleading her, to believe that he is sorry and actually change his behavior. She thinks that they are both putting in the necessary work and it doesn't work after that, then they probably shouldn't be together. So have y'all not been putting in any work all this time? Y'all have been together for 3 years. That is what's blowing my mind with these couples, is that all of a sudden things are clicking and ticking and making sense, or you're still waiting for the change. But I'm sure the conversations are still the same conversations that y'all have been having. We are now 3 years in. Shit'll get off the pot. Point blank. She says, if we were to answer Dr. Nicole's question of if we can get married in present state, my answer would be no. And the answer for everybody, again, needs to be no. So first date up is Fonzo's date with Tanisha, and he is looking forward to it. She is dressed real cute again, y'all, ready to tempt this man with another, little outfit that got the cheeks barely covered. He tells her that she is the first person he's gone out with for a second date, and she was excited because she was like, I felt like our chemistry from the first date was good. We're both kind of big flirts, and he's like, are you flirting with me now? And she's like, yes, I am. And I'm just like, Lord, Fonzo, take it easy. You know how Shay is. Take it easy. She says, he is really liking her and she is really giving him a lot of temptation, but he is respecting the boundaries, and she feels that he does keep thinking about Shay. Well, he needs to, because he has to go back home to her, man. He ain't going home with you, as far as we know of. She asks if he is learning a lot from the process, and he says Dr. Nicole is showing him a lot about himself, and she's like, I can tell you're a great guy. And Fonzo is like, I know, I've been working on it. That's what I've been trying to say. Fonzo, pipe down. You ain't been doing that much work on yourself, okay? Okay? The only reason why we may see some progress as far as maybe your behavior with women is because in the beginning, of course, Shay was setting some crazy boundaries and acting a fool. And because you have cameras following you, so anything that's done is recorded, so you can't deny and lie to Shay about it. So therefore, you're on your best behavior. Kenneth is next up with his date because he said he really downplayed the first date with her, so he wants to go on another date. And honey, his date, she got everything on display. She's like, last time we had, crab boil. I had to have the little bib and gloves on. This time I'm going to be cute, okay? She says she's been really thinking about him since the first date, and he has this mystery about him that she likes. And the only mystery I can think of is the mystery of what he does for a living to bring in money. So good luck figuring that out, girl. They talk about the first date and how shocked she was when she saw Shorty at the door, but she's like, the goal is to get to know him, so I'm kind of just going to block that out. Kenneth really starts gushing and says, man, Shawty, she got the juice to seduce, man. Okay, sir. She asks him the toughest thing he has gone through in his life, and he says the transition from Louisiana to Atlanta in high school. He said, it was really hard, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise. She says that the chemistry between them is there, and she really can't wait to see what more is in store. Kenneth does seem a lot more relaxed on this date than really any date we've seen him on throughout this whole process. But is it just me, or why does Kenneth's eyes always look like he's high? Like, is that his seduce me eyes? Is, that just his regular look? But it's getting on my nerves, like just being barely open, looking at her like either you smoke too many or you trying to jump her bones at any moment now. Which one is it, Kenneth? Kenneth was really giving her a whole lot of compliments, and she was definitely receiving it all. And I'm yelling through my TV like, girl, don't do it. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. But they grab hands and they look like they're really feeling each other's child. So, we'll see. We then see Otis on his date with Cherie because he feels the first date he really didn't give her a chance. They go wine tasting, and she says she hopes she can get him a little bit tipsy so he can talk a little bit more on this date. She starts asking him about his life and his family and, if he likes to travel and what his, top place has been. Date still, to me, real surface level, but okay. While on the other side of town, Charlana is out with Chris, and y'all, I don't know what, no, I know what it is about Chris. It's the hair. I cannot get past the hair, and she keeps saying that he is attractive, and I'm like, attractive where? This frosty blonde, white, gray tips, I don't even know what color the hair is. I just can't even look at a grown man and be like, I'm supposed to take you seriously with this hair? Maybe it's just me, but I cannot. He says he isn't surprised there's a second date because the first date went so well. Like, I'm just a catch. And I'm like, the attitude of it all. He asks what her family thinks about her going through this process, and she says they think she's crazy. She asks if women just throw themselves at him and if it's easy for him to get women. And he's like, well, they ain't really just throwing themselves at me. But, if I'm open to it and trying, basically the legs may fly open at any moment. He asks what she is feeling she isn't getting from her relationship and wants to hear what he has to say. And why basically what he has to say is important. And she says, your stories have been interesting. And he's like, okay, well, I have more stories, but I'll hold them for the third date. Back over to Otis, his date asks how his relationship is going. He basically says they're just going through the process. And as long as the guys that she's going out on dates with are treating her right, then he is cool with it. So back to Charlie's date, she tells him about the comment Otis made, basically to get his opinion on it. And he's like, of course he would say that because he don't want you going out on another date with me. He says if he thought that she was weak, he would not be attracted to her. And he really wants to see where this leads. We feeling each other. She just so happened to have a boyfriend. I'm like, okay. But he tells her when she has her situation figured out, she knows where to reach him. And she says she probably would consider another date with him. Charlie, the problem might be you. The problem might be you, and you just might be attracted to and want these toxic men, girl. No, ma'am. You can do better for yourself. No, ma'am. Don't do it. Don't do it. So when I summarize these dates, I think Otis is still keeping it surface, and he just really doesn't want to embrace this full process. So basically, he's wasted this lady's time for a second time from what we saw. And I'm assuming the clips that they're giving us is the best clips that they have from these dates. And what we saw was dry. And then Charlana, child, she just wanted some compliments. So that's why she went on this date. So next day is Shorty and Tavy, and she says, she's just going to have fun. Although now for a date, she feels like she is completely cheating. He feels that Shorty is interested because this is a fourth date. Why would we be going on a fourth date if she was not interested in me? But he needs to know where her head is. He asks if she has learned a lot about herself in this process, and she says as much respect as she wants from him, she realized she has to give it to him as well. She says that Tabby has showed her that she needs to allow people to be who they are instead of picking someone and trying to mold them into who she wants them to be. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I done got pissed off. Somebody just rang my doorbell. A solicitor in our neighborhood at the very beginning of my subdivision says no soliciting. And here he comes. So I had to give him the business real quick. And he tried to give me attitude back. I ain't the one or the two, okay? Let's get back to the review, y'all. Let's get back to the review. Anyway, like I was saying, Shorty says she needs to pick someone for who they are, basically, instead of trying to pick someone and then trying to mold them into the person she wants them to be. She says her ultimate question is trying to figure out when enough is enough and when she's given it enough time. And basically, she has no answer for that. He asks where he stands in all this, and she said for the rest of the process, she needs to work on herself and making sure that she isn't in the same place. So, of course, if Kenneth is making the changes, she needs to make the changes so they can really see where they fit in with each other. He looks disappointed. You can see it on his face. And he tells her, that he is kind of disappointed, but he loves that she now knows what she wants. But he feels he kind of got set up for the letdown. And I was like, unfortunately, Tavy. You kind of did, but that's a part of the process when you date someone that has a boyfriend. You're not going to be guaranteed to actually end up in a relationship with this person. So I kind of feel bad for you, but you also signed up for this, sir. So Shay is meeting with Asar, and she is nervous. He may not show up because their first date was terrible, but he comes in with his man ponytail and his dangling earring, child. I cannot. I cannot. She apologizes to him for her behavior on their first date, and he accepts. And she also thanks him for trying to take control of that whole disastrous situation. So they are making candles on their date, and they're picking out scents. And honestly, it's kind of boring. And again, very surface level with them, because I don't even feel like they didn't even have time to really conversate and get to know each other on the first date to build any type of connection and now have a second date. But here we are watching them on this boring date. He asks if she is willing to step out or leave her relationship. She basically says no. There's certain things that I won't settle for anymore, though. She is hoping everything works out for her next relationship if things don't work out here. And if so, whoever gets her the next time is going to be getting a real jewel. And he says, well, I'm the jewel that you need. She says this process has shown her that she really needs to focus on herself, of course, if it doesn't work out between her and Fonzo. And I'm like, Shay, girl, we saying all this when we know you ain't leaving Fonzo, okay? And in my opinion, I really wish she would have gone on a second date with that very first guy that she went out with. I felt like he was cute. He was a little bit more her type from all the other guys that we've seen based on the conversation that they had and kind of where his values and things led. It's just like, why didn't you pick him, girl? Like, was you scared that if you went out with him, y'all may actually build upon something? Because he seemed like he was a real man. Is that why you picked Asar instead? So back to the group session. All the couples show up, of course, to recap their dates. Fonzo said his date went well, and he learned that he could fight temptation. Shay says, I'm so proud of him. Girl, don't give him too much credit. He has cameras there watching him. So yes, he's going to be on his best behavior and not cheat on you, and you have the physical evidence to throw back in his face. Any other time he cheats, he can lie about it. He can't lie about it when the cameras capture him. Shay said her date was fun, and he really has the potential to be a really good partner for someone. And she tells the group, if things just don't work out, I'm not really looking to jump into something else right now, because that's just kind of going to be a cover up, and I really just need to do the work on myself. Kudos, Shay. Kudos. Now, I'm only going to give you more credit if you actually walk away, because you still need to do the work on yourself, honey. She says her and Fonzo are really communicating and listening to each other more, but until Fonzo confronts his family, there is no way they are ready for marriage. Move on to Shorty. Shorty says her date with Tavy is good, and they really caught up on their past date. So she said, she's letting him know that she's really want to, figure things out with Kenneth, and she just isn't ready to jump ship quite yet. But she says in her confessional, she's like, I'm not really hopeful, but I'm not ready to give up either. And I'm like, Shorty, make it make sense. It sounds like as much grief as you give Kenneth, you are just as comfortable in this relationship and acting like you don't want to move on, because you ain't hopeful, but you ain't ready to move on. You've chewed this man out almost every chance you've gotten this season, but yet you ain't ready to leave him? Kenneth says his date was nice, and he is glad he gave her a second date because, she was so happy to see him, and that really made him feel good. So again, he just needed a boost in his ego, and that's what she gave him, and that's what Shorty does not give him. He said that he just felt, he went into the date acting like he was not in a relationship, and basically he was just going to let, kind of go with the flow and then blame it on the alcohol. So I was like, well, Kenneth, how far were you going to take this date? Maybe if the cameras were not there. Side eye to you, Kenneth, okay? But then in the confessional, because Shorty's like, he's just saying all this stuff with like me sitting right here. And in his confessional, he says he wanted Shorty to hear this ish, and he wanted it to hurt. So, Kenneth, your motive is not to go through this process to better yourself or to maybe find someone that fits you better than Shorty. but your goal is to hurt her, and then I guess in turn then guilt her for staying with you. He says, when he is at home, Shorty is just really mad at him a lot. So it felt good for a woman to be nice and to just be genuinely feeling him. He says after everything, he isn't sure about their future, but Shorty says, hey, it's good to hear him be honest for once and just say, how he had a good time on the date, since it seemed like he was downplaying all the others. Otis says that his date went well. Conversation and chemistry was good. No, okay, I guess so. He says this go around, he was a little more open to the dates when Dr. Nicole asked kind of what was different, but because he's now been on several dates since the first date that he had with Cherie, that now he felt more comfortable this time. Charlie says her date went really well, and he's so attractive and sure of himself, really, that's kind of a turn on for her. Dr. Nicole asks what she learned, and she said, well, I already know I wasn't weak, because of course the rest of the group heard that the previous week, so they all laughed. And he told her that he was really attracted to her. And I said, girl, the question was, what did you learn? What'd you learn? It's not what you learned, Charlie. Girl, y'all just being petty at this moment. So Dr. Nicole says, that this was the final week of dates, so y'all can either go on another date or you can stop dating and focus on themselves and their relationship. Fonzo goes first. He said he's not going on another date. And then Shay goes, she says she wants Fonzo to take her on a date to see if she wants to continue to date him, so she won't be going on another date either. Kenneth says he won't go on another date. Shorty says she's going to have to give Tavy a break and she will not be going on another date because she knows that he wants more and she isn't ready to give it at the moment. Charlana says she wants to focus on Otis, but she would like to have a closure date with Chris. We all know the minute that came out of her mouth that Otis was ready to have a temper tantrum and he was going to be petty McGee. Okay? I was with Otis for 1.5 seconds of, why do you really need a closure date, Charlana? You've only been on 2 dates with this man. In my opinion, that's not really enough for a closure date. Now, this was Shorty and Tavy, where she's now gone on 4 dates with him. I think that would need some type of closure. But girl, 2 dates? I'm side-eyeing you, Charlie. So he says, of course, Otis is like, I don't see the point of a closure date. I can agree with you this one instance, Otis. And of course, because she said she wanted to have the closure date, Otis is like, yep, we gonna do a 3rd date. Okay, Cherie, come on, we going on another date. Child, this man is so petty. Like, I can't even deal with the pettiness. Like, how you say you've grown in this process and you realize certain things about yourself, but your behavior keeps showing otherwise. Y'all, I think we only have a couple more episodes of this season, and I am ready for it to completely be over because next week looks like another train wreck, especially with Shorty and Kenneth, where it looks like Kenneth is going to basically get drunk doing cartwheels in the living room and letting it all out. He is letting, I guess, the real Kenneth is going to come out and play next week, and I hope that just gives Shorty a little bit more ammunition to completely walk away from this relationship because this is a train wreck, y'all. Let me know your thoughts below on this episode this week, and I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.